Okay, we'll get started. We have a quorum. Yep. Madam Clerk, whenever you're ready, we'll do a roll call.
Bell. Curran.
Here.
Freely.
Present.
Harrison.
Here.
Hinkleman. Pitchford.
Present.
Ott.
Yep.
Tyler.
Here.
Walrath.
Happy to be here.
Purple. Yarborough. Elliott.
Here,
You have 10.
thank you. We have minutes from last week to approve. Anyone?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Moved by Pitchford, supported by Freeling, I think. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Requisition review.
Morning. Does anybody have any questions about the requisitions? Thank you.
Thank you. Erica is here. Would you like to give us a GIS update?
There you go. Okay. Good morning, commissioners, colleagues, and members of the public. My name is Erica Esplin. I am the relatively new GIS director for Berrien County. Director Warren Parrish in Equalization made me promise that I would open up with a joke. So, no promises. So why can the GIS director never play hide and seek? Because you can always find her on a map. All right. I'm sorry, you guys. Please blame Warren. But at least that was a home crafted joke there. So Administrator Doucette invited me here today to give you a little bit of an update on the GIS department's progress. This will be the shorter version of the very long format version I gave my subcommittee. But if you'd prefer a longer update, even the public, you're welcome to come by my office and ask me all kinds of nerdy and exciting questions about GIS. So recently, Berrien County has made great efforts to invest in the continued development of our digital and technical infrastructure to better serve our community. One aspect of that was improvements to our GIS department. For those on the call who may not know, GIS stands for Geographic Information Systems. Think of it as interactive maps that combine location with data and powerful analysis. It allows us to see historical, current, and predictive spatial patterns and relationships and trends. Whether that's where to send an ambulance, how to plan a road repair, or even helping the public to visualize our land records. GIS helps us make better, faster, and more transparent decisions through interactive visualization tools. With that context in mind, I'll share some highlights of how Berrien County's GIS team has been modernizing technology, improving data availability, and supporting our departments and offices, as well as the public across government. Over the past 8 months, Berrien County has successfully launched a modern ArcGIS enterprise deployment in partnership with our information systems department and our vendor ProWest. This system is a secure environment for creating and sharing geospatial data built to current industry standards and replaces outdated systems that are no longer supported. It lays the foundation for faster data delivery, advanced mapping tools, and reliable public services. Staff training is underway, and GIS power users like drains, health, community development, 911, EOC, equalization, and roads will soon be the first to receive access. By 2026, county staff and the public should see substantial improvements in speed, accuracy, and accessibility of GIS data and services. In our land description division, more than 300 taxpayer land reconfiguration applications will be processed this year. All work is now being handled once again in-house. This is improving our efficiency and helps us to better serve our public and our local units, as well as our supporting offices and departments. Ownership and taxpayer record maintenance has been returned to the local units with great success. Many units are voluntarily providing updates to the county more often than required, which is ensuring more accurate data for everyone, as well as, most importantly, a convenient singular point of contact for our taxpayers. In public safety and 911, our team has made major progress in strengthening the county's emergency systems. We've added over 70,000 new address points to the dispatch systems, with another 9,000 coming soon to aid in emergency response. We've also began implementing a field data collection for exact unit level addressing in apartments and mobile home communities. We've cleared all high priority public safety GIS help tickets, and we've submitted NENA compliant 911 GIS data to meet state repository requirements and assist with community safety in the event of a large scale emergency. All these efforts mean faster and more precise emergency response, which can not only just save lives, but also increase efficiency in emergency resources. Our 2025 remonumentation program is underway, supported entirely by state grant funds with no local match required. This work ensures accurate survey corners that support property rights, infrastructure, and community planning. Through the MySail program, Berrien County receives high resolution aerial imagery every 3 years that supports tax assessment, zoning, roads, drains, public safety, and so much more. Currently, state leaders are pursuing sustainable funding to ensure that these benefits of regular aerial imagery for Berrien County continue into the future. I'm very excited to announce that our department is now fully staffed. We were very fortunate to fill 2 of our department's open positions with very highly qualified GIS professionals. Our Deputy Director, Carson Evans, and 911 GIS Data Manager, Julia Spathis. Both have already completed multiple necessary certifications and are delivering results in critical areas. Our existing staff, GIS Technician Kirsty Sexton and GIS Specialist Larry Shooks, are also completing advanced certifications that expand their expertise and raise efficiency so we can better serve our public. The GIS department has also earned some statewide recognition. I was honored to be appointed to the state's GIS Advisory Board, as well as the Remote Sensing Advisory Board. And I also serve as the Vice President for the Michigan Statewide GIS Professional Organization. These roles give Berrien County a direct seat at the table where geospatial priorities and requirements are set. Through this involvement, Berrien County stays informed on the latest geospatial news, technology trends, and funding opportunities. It also ensures that the geospatial needs and concerns of counties like Berrien are represented. Beyond that, these connections are opening doors for regional partnerships that could result in cost savings and expanded resources. It also provides a forum to discuss state GIS standards that impact our day-to-day operations. And it gives our staff access to professional development opportunities and best practices being used across Michigan to better serve our residents. Our Berrien County GIS department has also been invited to present at multiple state GIS conferences, which not only raises our program's visibility and credibility, but it provides additional cost savings to us for training. Over time, GIS has become more and more integrated into county operations. Some of these examples include our roads department. We're creating interactive tools for construction history, detours, and hazard alerts. These tools are not only useful internally for analysis, but also create a wonderful tool to better communicate with the public. We're working on spatial applications development to allow for real-time communication between departments and offices. One example of this would be 911 and the roads department need to be able to communicate in live real time about road hazards, when there's a road hazard, when it's being cleared, when it's expected to be cleared. The health department, we're mapping evacuation and communication strategies for our vulnerable populations. In courts, we create GIS exhibits and analysis that's used in cases. For drains, accuracy and assessment, predictive modeling, and taxpayer notifications are all supported by GIS analysis and data. In equalization, we use current GIS data integration to allow for maximum effectiveness of powerful assessment tools like Pivot Point and EagleView, which ensure equity and taxation. And then finally, we've made lots of updates and improvements to our very popular Beacon site for tax parcels and other interactive map visualization tools, which is free to the public. So over the past 8 months, GIS has updated our technology to current industry standards. We've expanded our capabilities, and we've built a stronger future-focused team. Looking ahead, Berrien County residents can expect faster access to reliable and current data, smarter tools for decision-making and communication, and enhanced public safety response. We've not only met, but surpassed some of the ambitious goals we set for GIS just 8 months ago, and I'm so proud of the progress we've all made together. It reflects incredible dedication of my team and the shared commitment of all of our departments, agencies, offices, partners, elected officials, and public who advocated for the value of GIS and worked side by side with us to breathe new life into this program. We have so much more work ahead, but I'm excited to see what the future holds, not just for GIS, but for our county as a whole. Any questions?
Anyone have any questions? Yes, sir.
Could you just speak broadly about the impact of artificial intelligence on the GIS space?
Yes, okay, so that is a big topic. So GIS is actually one of the earlier adopters of AI technology. It's integrated in with our software. We utilize it a lot for pattern detection and analysis, but it has broader implications. At the state level, we're discussing this a lot in the GIS Advisory Board, because before we start utilizing these tools, we need to make sure that we have a full handle on security and ethics that are going on. But AI is going to have a large impact on GIS operations and what we're able to offer in the future.
Anyone else? Okay, well, thank you, Erica. It's been informative, and we look forward to more of your reports.
Okay, so we're still streaming and pictures there, so we're still good. And I'm trying to reach out to Mike right now. See whether he is still. Okay. There he is. You can't see him, but he's there.
Morning, Mike.
Good morning. How's everybody doing?
Good. You look better than ever.
I'm relieved that we have a state budget. So, ultimately, it passed about 4 a.m. The last sort of budget implementation bill passed last Friday. A little bit past our deadline. The state did, do sort of a short-term funding gap so that government didn't shut down. We reached a budget deal that ultimately passed with bipartisan support in both chambers, signed by the governor on Tuesday with not a single line item veto in it. And so perhaps despite the rocky path and political process we took to get there, the product at least was supported on both sides of the aisle. I'm going to just touch on some of the highlights, some of the big things, but if there are specific questions from commissioners, please let me know. And if I don't have the answer, I will go back and find them for you. We are digging through fiscal documents to get sort of exact numbers of things. The biggest winner, of course, in this thing was roads. The legislature did a sales tax for gas tax swap off of gasoline, so that is a revenue neutral to the consumer, but that all of the taxes that you pay at the pump will go to roads as opposed to the sales tax on gasoline, which goes to locals and to schools. There were some revenue sharing cuts as a part of that, but only to cities, townships, and villages. County revenue sharing was flat year over year. There's a new local roads fund as part of that sort of revenue swap, and a new tax on marijuana wholesalers that will lead to more investment in the roads, both at the statewide level, but also at the county level and at the city and village level. Townships won't receive any of that local road fund directly. Obviously, working with the counties, those roads will get improved. There's some public safety funds in there. Berrien County, I think, is getting about $147,000 in public safety funds based on a formula that goes out across the state. I would encourage folks to look at that as one-time funding at this point. The bills out there for a public safety trust fund and a revenue sharing trust fund continue to be alive, but they are not done yet. And so including those public safety dollars in the budget is great, but a budget is one-time investment, right? And so encouraging folks to look at that public safety dollars as a one-time investment at least until we can see some more movement on the public safety policy bill. They passed alongside the budget a natural resources trust fund bill that frankly was ready to go in, I think, January. But that does have a number of projects in Berrien County. Get my list here in front of me. None of them, I don't think, are county properties, but Riverfront Park in Buchanan, Lincoln Township beach improvements, Boyle Lake boating access improvement, and Marquette Greenway development, I believe, are the 4 projects that are located in Berrien County. Those also passed alongside the budget. Public transit will get an increase in money along with that roads deal as well. The estimates are maybe $48 million statewide up to $98 million statewide once it's fully phased in. I'm trying to get a breakdown of what that means for transit agencies across the state. I just don't have it yet. There is $17 million in this budget for prosecutors in the 15 counties with the most violent crime rate. It's a per capita rate. I believe that includes Berrien County, but I don't have the breakdown yet. There's sort of a formula there for how that 17 million gets divvied up amongst those prosecutors' offices, and they are one-time dollars to try to reduce caseloads for those local prosecutor offices. So we will get a more detailed number on that as well. High level and county revenue sharing was flat, but I know a lot of you work closely with cities and townships that are within your different districts. The math gets a little interesting here for different communities who saw a haircut on the revenue sharing side, but maybe see some public safety funds coming their way or road funding coming their way. For the most part, I don't think there are that many communities that will have less money than they had last year. But there are some limitations, right, on how those dollars can be used, right? And so if you lose revenue sharing, but you get some more road dollars or you get some more public safety dollars, you're limited on spending those dollars in those areas. And so that can provide some challenges. So if you're talking to, township boards or city councils, you may hear some of that from the folks that you all represent, and just want you to be aware of that. This budget, outside of all of the things we talked about, is about $1.5 billion less than last year's budget. A good chunk of that is as a result of changes at the federal level, loss of one-time dollars that showed up sort of post-COVID, changes from the big, beautiful bill that passed earlier this year in DC. A very large chunk of them, those cuts come out of the DHHS budget, Medicaid, and that side of the house. The other place in the budget that saw sort of drastic cuts was the Leo MEDC budget. It's down about $690 million year over year. It's about a 25% cut from last year's budget on that. Some of that is fewer earmarks. Again, the federal dollars are gone, and so some of those one-time grants that went out the door in previous year are gone. But also gone is the SOAR the SOAR fund. That's the sort of cash grants to land big projects that the governor had launched with the legislature some years ago. That has not been funded. The RAP program, which is sort of a placemaking program, that is eliminated. The business attraction line item went from 100 million down to 60 million, really more focused now on serving small businesses. And so we did see cuts to sort of workforce development and economic development in this budget as well. I continue to work with different folks on the staff. And so I know I've got a call with, I think, Maureen on Friday to talk about some of the veteran services funds and how those are going to flow. I know I've talked with other folks on the county staff to look at the House fiscal numbers. We'll continue to do that. Anybody on the county team that's looking for specific numbers, working through Brian to just make sure that we provide final and accurate numbers for either new investments or haircuts that exist in certain places on this thing. But what questions can I answer for commissioners?
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. I would like to ask if there's any money for libraries, or was any money put for Benton Harbor Public Library?
I believe the library funding was restored. I think it was flat. But let me confirm that 100%, and I can send an email today to Brian with the year over year on libraries, and he can get that to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't have a question for Mike, but I do have a comment. According to the Michigan Association of Counties podcast this week, the road increase looks to be about 35% to each of the counties. One-time funding, I think, as Mike had said. And as the governor is promoting it, she's promoting it as neighborhood funding. So before we start deciding where all of that's going, I think we really need to consider that going to our neighborhood roads, to those secondary local roads, and to our subdivisions, so basically out to the townships. And before we start putting it on other projects. And then lastly, I'd like to mention on the public safety, I'd also like to throw the nugget out there of we're spending a lot right now on juvenile, and it'd be nice to plant that money right over on all those projects at juvenile.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Mike, could you give us a sense on what the budget does for community violence intervention prevention funding? I know there was talk about the House budget that was initially put forward, cutting those funds. Has that been restored, and what does that look like moving forward?
Yeah, I'll have to take a look at the specific line items, but similar on libraries, I can get an email out today with some of those programs side by side. I do know that a number of the sort of offender success programs and corrections were restored. The governor had proposed some sort of incentive money for some of those partners that was like a performance bonus. I don't think that made it across the line, but that was not funding that was in last year's budget. It was something that the governor had proposed this year that just didn't make it to the final product. Those public safety dollars that I mentioned, again, I think it's 147,000. 75%, I believe, have to go sort of directly or indirectly to law enforcement, whether that's training, more people, more equipment, whatever that looks like. But 25% can be used, and I can send this language in the email as well, for strategies that, reduce violence, some of those wraparound support type things. And so there seems to be some flexibility there for local communities. Again, that's a you all choice on how to spend those dollars. But I know that's been a place where people have continued to talk about what are those strategies that reduce violence on the front end, and there seems to be some flexibility in those dollars there as well.
And then finally, could you talk to
Just a follow-up on that, isn't it also allowed for infrastructure and public safety?
Yeah, I'll send the language. It's really interesting. It's pretty wide open outside of that 75-25 split. And then there's specific things you can't do. And it's like you can't buy a vehicle over a certain weight, which my understanding is basically a tank. You can't buy, chemical weapons. I mean, the amount of things that are expressly excluded are very limited. So, I think that's good, right? I think from a local control perspective, that provides the flexibility for communities in different parts of the state to say, how do we want to best use these dollars in our community? And I think that flexibility is built into those dollars.
And then finally, could you just talk a little bit about what dollars in the budget were allocated to transit in the state of Michigan and what that could look like for counties, or if that's something you put in a follow-up email for us?
Yeah, I'm waiting for a breakdown on those dollars to specific transit agencies. It was a priority largely for Senate Democrats to make sure that as they were increasing revenue for transportation, that public transit received a piece of that. I've seen a couple different estimates on the dollars. I've seen like 48 million up to 98 million. Statewide, that's a statewide number. So that will get kicked out to the local transit agencies across the state via formula. It's more revenue, right? And so what I don't know yet is how much that is and what that means. I know as you all continue to have conversations locally, you've got a couple different systems. Transit's a tricky one. It's sort of a chicken and an egg situation, which is you need the ridership to justify the routes. But if the routes aren't convenient enough, then you can't get your ridership up, right? So I'll get you some more detailed numbers on what that means for the agencies in Berrien County. I just don't have that number yet broken down by specific transit agency.
Thank you.
Ma'am.
This is Commissioner Tyler. I noticed in the budget, there are some tax credits for overtime, tipping, and seniors. When does that go into effect? Does it affect this year, or do we wait till 2026? Will it affect their tax notices?
I believe it's effective now. This will be an interesting thing, right? Because people pay their taxes on an annual basis, and the state's fiscal agency, right, is on the October 1 year. And so we're waiting for some guidance out of Treasury. I'll add that to my list as well. But yes, one of the things that the House Republicans made a priority in this budget was trying to mirror the federal law on no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and that is included in this budget. We're just waiting for some details on what that means and guidance for entities that are going to have to implement that.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Mike, do you know anything more about the imminent litigation over the marijuana tax?
Yeah, they filed this week. Their argument is that this is a constitutional change because that's how marijuana became legal in the state, and so the vote to increase those taxes requires a supermajority of lawmakers, not a simple majority of lawmakers. I'll stop short of opining who might win in court. If the state wins, then there's no issue. There's a large hole in the state budget if the marijuana industry wins, because we're using those dollars to balance the budget based on the road stuff that we're intending to do. My belief, and I'm not an attorney, is that that it will move forward as intended unless a judge stays that ruling. So this could go on in court for some time, but as long as a judge doesn't stay the decision to add the tax will move forward until a court decides whether or not it's legal or illegal.
Yeah, my recollection is that the ballot question delegated a lot of implementation discretion to the state legislature. And I wouldn't give this case a lot of odds of success.
I would just say, and again, not as an attorney, if the leadership in the House, the Senate, and the governor's office, which includes Republicans and Democrats, didn't feel confident that they could defend this, I don't think they would have used it to balance the budget. So I think they feel good about their chances.
Right. Any other questions for Mike?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Just a couple of comments related to the update you all have received. So jumping back to the transit reference, I wanted the board to be aware that your local committee, so BCAT, that's made up of members of this commission. Your BCAT folks have met with MDOT and have had a face-to-face just confirming the language that you all have received directly from MDOT about the shutdown of funding going directly to TCATA. The reason that I bring this up is BCAT walked out of that room saying, okay, next step is we've got to get MDOT and TCATA at the table to make sure that we all have the exact same message, the same understanding, and hopefully a sense of urgency that this is coming and it's coming fast. We have a tentative date to meet next week with members from MDOT a second time, and we are doing our best to get representatives from TCATA and potentially from the city to join that session. I will freely admit that, 2 weeks. I will freely admit that it's been a little bit difficult getting everyone to the table. And it does cause a little bit of heartburn because we're on the clock. We have essentially a year until that funding goes away. So I will make sure that the board is updated and that you all, if you have any questions about what's going on locally as it relates to transit, happy to answer any question. Jumping to the road funding question, the advice that I've offered to Mark, and Mark is going to admin today to talk about roads in general, is for now, any increases coming from the state that we are quickly and effectively applying that to fund balance while we wait for the dust to settle to ensure that, yes, we do receive every dollar that's being promised through the budget, and that as a parent committee, you have a clear understanding of how much of an increase and then what will be the impact onto local pricing. So we will make sure that you know exactly what dollars are flowing in if we are seeing a huge increase in pricing for work, recognizing this is likely going to be a one-time infusion of cash. So I want you all to be aware that we've been actively tracking this, and we are not going to rush to spend these dollars. We will work actively with the townships. We will work actively with the board to make sure that it is a wise and thoughtful process on how those dollars are being spent. I'm sorry, I didn't hear, sir. For local roads, understood, sir.
Yeah. And the admin committee will oversee that process, correct?
Yes.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Go back to the, Takata and the MDOT and all that. Is
We
the
need
health,
Mike for this.
I think we're good on Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.
Have a good meeting, guys.
thank you.
Wherever you are out there.
He's there.
Man behind the screen.
I wanted to ask, is health department or that department that called those meetings, are they invited to this?
No, ma'am. So,
Okay.
so to the board, there is a local group that is trying to work on the bigger question related to all things transit. That is completely separate of the work of BCAT, of the work dealing directly with MDOT. BCAT, quite simply, is 4 members of this board, plus a couple of staff, and the staff are me and Dan, working directly to get communication between MDOT and between our local partner at Takata. We have no objection to what is going on as far as the overall regional planning efforts related to transit, but it is not being led by BCAT. It is not in any way influencing your conversations directly with MDOT.
And I'm over there.
Okay.
You said that meeting's in 2 weeks, the follow-up?
Yes, sir.
From my perch, and I'm not involved in the particulars with BCAT or with MDOT. If Takata and the city don't show up, I would not meet. Because
Understood.
this is as much for their benefit, if not more so, than for any other local entity's benefit. And if they're not willing to participate in this endeavor, cancel the meeting.
Unfortunately, it's been difficult to get the meeting scheduled. And for me, it's just a growing sense of anxiety that we are on the clock. We have 1 year, and I understand, and I will certainly heed that advice.
Do they realize we don't have to do this?
Yeah, so to the board, jumping back to that letter, the letter made two things really clear. Number one, the funding is planned to halt directly to Takata. That is coming in approximately 1 year. The second point made in that letter is that MDOT is actively asking the county to take a lead role in the development of regional transit. We've had one meeting with MDOT where they confirmed everything that was stated is their reality. And to your point, sir, if we do not have a partner stepping up from the local unit, I understand there's no reason to meet.
Yeah, when I was a young guy, when we bought our first John Deere, we bought it from Carl M. Beaver and Son. I used to ask Mr. Beaver, where's your son? Well, I don't know where he was. I think he was in the army. In any event, he had a sign behind his desk in his shop that said, lack of preparation on your part does not constitute an emergency for me. Yeah, and I'd seen it years later and I thought, oh, there's Mr. Beaver's sign. And I didn't realize that it was out there in the public domain, but that message somehow needs to get through. You're not going to wait till next summer to pull something together. Either do it now or good luck.
To the board, this is something we covered at BCAT, but on the front page of the county's website, we have put direct links to the past studies that have been undertaken as it relates to transit. We can provide you with those links if you can't find them. We can provide you with hard copies if you need it. And we also have a reduced down, I think it's a 7-page summary that we can provide to all of you. My point on this is this thing has really been actively studied. The roadmap is there. It is now just, is there a sincere commitment from community members to make this happen? And from the county's perspective, we've already started, but to your point, sir, if the locals don't want to participate, then understood.
Any questions, comments, concerns? Okay, we'll wait for committees. There is time.
Public comment.
You got some time?
Yeah. Public comment.
Hey, Mac.
What? It does.
I actually have something. Annette Christie, Keeler Township, and my time card will reflect that I'm on vacation time. I received a letter Monday night at my home on county letterhead in a county envelope and ran through the postage machine in the county mailroom. The letter was authored by our county benefits manager. It was dated September 11th, but mailed on October 1st. The letter was to inform me that a medication that I was prescribed for by a doctor for a specific purpose would no longer be covered by our county provided health insurance because of the cost of medicine. There were no other options provided in the letter other than get with my doctor and then try something else, or, oh, they would let me put more money of my money in the flex spending account to help pay for it. Now, I recognize that me speaking publicly alerts every other county employee that got the same letter, what medication I'm on and for what specific purpose, and I hate that part. But sometimes you have to speak up when something is so wrong. I don't know how or who made this decision. I can guess who weighed in on it, given the out loud comments that I've heard in the hallway. But I do believe that ultimately it's you. So my ask of you today is to consider two things. Find another way to trim the budget without cutting benefits for those of us that this affects, because if it's this today, what will it be next? And establish a policy, if we don't already have one, that prevents the benefits manager or any other county employee from knowing any data that could ultimately identify a person and or any of their medical information, including but not limited to the medications that they are on and for what purpose. Thank you.
Thank you. We're still in session. Did we vote on this?
You have not.
Okay,
So as part of your upcoming budget, this will be a discussion topic. So the board has taken no action on it. And the board ultimately has the final decision making on this.
so what's the expression? Someone got over their skis, perhaps? Yeah, I'm familiar with this just by conversation. Was not aware of any move to implement a change. For those of you who are relatively new, and for me, relatively new means you've only been here 10 years.
Or less.
Or less. We are a self-funded plan. And Anthem Blue Cross is a third-party administrator. We give them our money and we say, run our plan for us. But we ultimately decide what is covered and what is not, what is covered through a generic or through the real deal. All those things, we give Brian as chief operating officer authority to deal with, but we retain the right to direct that certain things be done or not done. I would say for the time being, given the magnitude of this, and it's a rather dynamic aspect of healthcare, that we forbear in making any decisions, and if communications were mailed, perhaps follow-up communications can be done saying, actually, that decision has not been made by the board. Is that okay with everyone?
Yes, yes.
How long have we been self-funded this way?
Gosh, 30 plus years. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've changed things around, but the current permutation of our coverage goes back to the 90s. And it, when you look around, it's a pretty good coverage vehicle. But the thing about a self-directed plan is there's a hyphen between self and directed, but directed means something. It means Anthem doesn't tell us what we're doing. If we tell them we want to do something, they cost it out for us. And years and years and years ago, we had someone on the board, I won't name names, but that commissioner had, that family had a monumental challenge because a small child, a toddler, had a very rare disease, so rare that the only place that could effectively treat it, the only place that had come up with something viable was Johns Hopkins out in, I think in Baltimore. Yeah. It was deemed experimental, and it probably was, but it was something that was saving lives of little kids. And we told the Blues, pay for it. And their doctor, who was actually a private pilot as well, flew them out to Johns Hopkins in his plane just to save time. And regrettably, it did not work for their little boy. That treatment now has been refined and it is working and it is saving other kids. But we as a board collectively decided we can't let this happen. We have to try. And so because it was a self-directed plan, we were able to pay for something which back then doesn't sound like much money now, but it was over $100,000 back then to implement this treatment. And I would happily do it again if that situation were to come up. So with that history, sir.
I'm having a little deja vu because I remember a drug coming out that was specific to men, and the cost was very high. And then I was at the hospital in Niles, and we decided not to offer that through our health plan. And what eventually happened was the price plummeted then because other employers did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
We decided this is, while it's a great product, it's not something necessarily we can offer. So the other with self-directed plans, everyone needs to understand that we end up paying the cost, whatever it is. It's not a Blue Cross issue. They will pass along the cost of whatever the drugs are.
Sure.
Or the medical procedures or whatever. It comes right out of our pocket like any other expense. Like if Chuck needs to have a tank, that would come out of, or a helicopter. It comes right out of our general fund.
Or a
so that's
helicopter
where,
tank combined unit.
No, they make those.
Yes.
and so that's why I think we need to really get all the information and understand fully, because we are in a zero-sum game. You know, if we
Yeah.
pay for this, we can't do this and that.
Well, and I
So,
see Costco is offering prescription medications now. Everybody's getting in the act, and their members get discounts by virtue of their Costco membership. As always, when something is medically indicated by a primary care or specialty care physician, it's going to be covered under our plan. As I said, I had heard discussion about this. I didn't know anyone had made a decision or sent mail out to employees. That's in tennis, you stepped over the line. That's a foot fault. We can't have that happen again. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, along the same lines, that brings to light that we really do need to be working on budget soon. I don't know where that stands. But with that kind of change, if somebody has a spouse with different insurance, there's a window now. So those employees, if they want to make any changes, that window's narrow. So if we don't make that decision relatively soon, I mean, that puts our employees at a disadvantage also in looking at what are their other options.
Yeah. And I'm not saying anybody acted with any bad intent. Sometimes there are misunderstandings. Misunderstandings can lead to mistakes. So we just do what we need to do to ensure it doesn't happen again. So, okay, with that, I think it might be time to grab a donut before committee meetings.
We got the rest.
We do.
I'm only hungry.
Don't get one.
Always ask. State line, Michigan, Indiana, it's always been. I like it when it's fuzzy. So is that make people, are they getting closer to?
Well, actually, it's funny. Because